Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Mafex John Wick from Chapter 4, a movie I have yet to see, but I'll see it eventually. I haven't seen any movies in like 2.5 years now, but I'll see them eventually. Anyway, this figure, I was told the John Wick figures are good. This is the newest one, so I figured I would get it and review it. I'll let you know right now it is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store if you need to get one after this video. You can check it out. There's a link in the description below. But it does seem pretty good. There's a couple things on it that I really don't like, but there are a couple things that are really, really good. So maybe this is for you. We'll find out. Let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before we look at the figure, I do want to show you my package. I think it's a pretty good one. It's not the most interesting thing in the world, but you do get the figure front and center with a nice window. A little bit of window on the top for some light. If you are an inbox collector, that's helpful. Otherwise, it's pretty standard. It's not the most flashy thing in the world. It is all black, so the almost all black figure is very hard to see. And then there's the same thing on this side, but it's still not a bad, that's better. You can see it a little bit more back there. But yeah, it's a decent package for you inbox collectors. I think you'll be fine. I don't know if you guys heard that. My daughter is running around upstairs and I heard a bunch of pounding. So maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this guy. He stands just shy of 16.5 centimeters, including the very top of his hair, which means he is just about 6 3/8. That's probably pretty close to true 1/12 scale. For Marvel Legends, yeah, it's probably... I mean, Darwin's supposed to be tall, but he's not that tall for Marvel Legends, so you could probably squeeze him into your collection if you needed to at this size, but he's probably going to be not quite tall enough to look right against most comic figures. Okay, so let's do a question of the day. Are you a fan of the John Wick movies? If so, are you a fan of all the John Wick movies? Or which ones did you like the most? For me, I think they've been getting... I haven't seen the last one, like I said, but I did see 1 through 3, and I think each one was subsequently less good. Still fine, but subsequently less good. Not the kind of sequels you really hope for, but the kind that are acceptable. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, so that's not to say there weren't good things about each one, but generally speaking, if I had to pick one, it'd be number 1. Okay, so let's talk about this guy. Lots of black plastic. There's not a lot going on there, but what does need to be going on is going on. And I'll say, for having a lot of layers, it's not too thick looking. His waist does get a little bit thick looking because of all this black plastic here that's layered on top of itself. But it's not that thick, actually. And once you pose him, it's probably going to snug in pretty well. And they did a pretty good job with it, and I think the sculpt work is nice. You can see all the buttons and things. He's got his little white sleeves coming out of the bottom there. His shoes do have a nice shiny finish on them, so that's good. Not a whole lot else to talk about really for the suit. The head sculpt, I think, is pretty darn good. Maybe it's not perfect. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is pretty darn good. Let's see if I can hold the figure still so you can see it. That is an impressive head sculpt and paint job. It's not absolutely perfect. I think maybe his nose is a couple % too big, but that is a good looking Keanu Reeves head sculpt. Very, very pleased with that. The hair, everything, that looks really, really nice. So that's really it for the aesthetic portion of this review. I guess I'll mention the proportions a little bit. It's not bad at all. I think that's a pretty darn good recreation of a real life Keanu Reeves. Maybe needs a little bit red in his hair. Hey, some of you will get that joke. But otherwise, it's pretty darn good. I'm going to give this an aesthetic rating of 8 out of 10. It would be higher, but because they didn't paint the buttons and things on the jacket, on the vest and whatnot, or did they? No, it doesn't. Well, they might have, actually. I take it back. When I look at it really close, it looks like they might have a little bit of luster on the buttons and things. It's an expensive figure, but I think that looks fine. Does it look too much like bare plastic? Probably. I don't think his clothes are very shiny in the movie, are they? I'm going to stick with 8. I don't know. I think it would look better with a different finish. To me, it looks like bare plastic rather than slightly lustrous material. And I don't think his suits were shiny, but maybe in the 4th one it is. Is he wearing a silk suit? I don't know. Okay, let's talk about the accessories. First thing I want to talk about, you get a whole extra half a figure, and that's pretty darn good. You just pop him off at the waist, swap the head and hands, and then you have a jacketless, vestless body, and I think that's awesome. That adds a lot of value to the figure, and they did a really good job with the wrinkling and whatnot on this. It looks very nice. The tie is a separate piece. There is some gray shading going throughout. I'm very, very pleased with it, and we'll talk about the articulation later, but that is a pretty darn good accessory. You also get an alternate head, so you have the kind of stern normal head that comes on in the package. Then you get the one that's a little bit more disheveled and there's a little bit of an expression on his face. Unfortunately, mine is not put together properly, and so the little bit of paint on his forehead does not touch his hair, and it looks really, really bad. Now, I can fix that, but I shouldn't have to. I don't like that at all. I'm guessing that's just a one-off, and most of you won't have that happen, but if they're all like that, that sucks. It's probably easy to fix for most people, but still, that sucks. And on to the other accessories. You get an absolute buttload of hands, tons and tons of hands, so that's pretty good. You get a belt for when you take his jacket off. That's pretty cool. Non-functional holster or anything, but it's still there. And then you do get some weapons. You get a couple guns, sword, an axe, and some nunchucks. That's pretty cool. I'm guessing that's the 2011, the pistol. That's really nicely done. You can see the barrel in there. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that's nicely detailed. Yeah, it's a good spread of accessories for sure. It's a bummer that the head is messed up a little bit, but I'm counting that as just an error and not something that's consistent. So I'm going to say for accessories... Oh, you also get the Mafex stand, of course. 9 out of 10. I'd like some muzzle flashes or something, but 9 out of 10, that's pretty good. I mean, you have a whole extra half a figure in there, so I like it. Alright, for articulation. The neck does technically have a ball peg, I believe, but it doesn't move very much, but the head to neck is a ball peg, and it moves pretty well. You're not going to get super crazy poses out of it, but with the little bit of movement in the neck and with the ball pegs at the top of the neck, you should be able to get really natural looking poses, and that's awesome. That's going to work just fine. He can't look up really at all because of his hair, but I think he'll be okay. I think you'll be able to get him in most poses. For the shoulders, even with this extra layer of jacket, the butterfly joint works pretty well. You pull it out, and I mean, it can get ugly looking, can get goofy looking, but it's pretty functional. You're going to be able to put him in a pistol holding pose pretty easily. So that's good. I like that a whole bunch. It's the type of butterfly that it looks to me like it's connected on a ball peg in the front, so it does lift up and down some too. So that'll give you a little bit of extra posing, and then you already saw it come out. For the shoulder, you get it better than horizontal on the ball hinge outside of the butterfly. There's no actual bicep swivel except for where that shoulder, the arm part connects to the shoulder ball hinge. But I think it'll be okay. I think it should work, and you'll see in the photos at the end if I can get him to hold things properly. Double jointed elbow works nicely. It's not the best looking thing in the world, but it's just fine. And then the wrists are on little ball hinges. So that so far is pretty well done. I'm pretty okay with this so far. The torso, there is a diaphragm joint in the middle here. You can get him to lean forward and back. Is it easy enough to get him to do other things? Like, you have to mess with it, but you definitely can get him to do things. So that's good. Is there rotation? Yeah, rotation works well too. So you just have to get in there underneath the jacket, and it's actually a really nice torso joint. So that's surprising. I was expecting it to not move very much. Down here under the vest, you get a waist joint, which works really well also. So that's good. And then for the hips, they did the drop down thing, which you know how I feel about that. But let's see, going forward, you're going to engage the drop down automatically. He does kick better than horizontal, and you can't tell because of the jacket really. I mean, it is gappy, but it's okay. So that's fine. I don't like drop downs, they get annoying, but it works okay for kicking forward. Going out to the side, drop downs don't really help that. And he can almost go pretty far, but just a little bit better than 45. Probably okay, since I don't think Keanu Reeves needs to do too many splits. But otherwise it works pretty well. Thigh swivel is minimal, that's unfortunate. The knee joint, not the best looking thing, not the ugliest thing, but also not the most range, just 90 degrees. So it'll probably be okay, but don't expect any Spider-Man poses. And then the next thing is the thing that bothers me the most. The ankles have very, very little range, so that is not a good thing. They go back a little bit, they go forward. If you force them underneath the pants, still just a little bit. So you're going to have a lot more limitation than you'd probably want. It feels like it's a full-on ball hinge in there. Yeah, functionally it is a ball hinge. And you do get an ankle rocker, but even that is pretty limited. So, I mean, he's a normal human doing normal human type stuff, sort of. But the ankles are not great. So they'll probably be fine, but not good. You're not going to be like, oh man, I can put him in any kind of pose I want and keep his feet on the floor. Not really. And then the toe hinge is really far back on the foot. Now I get it, his dress shoes have the longer toe, but this is still pretty far back. It looks kind of goofy, and it's really soft. So that's not the best toe hinge we've seen. So his articulation, we'll get to the accessory articulation in a second, is, because it's not really that different, is really good in some ways and just average in others and not great in others. But mostly I think the important things are hit on pretty well, and I think you're going to be able to pose this guy in all the ways you really need to, and probably most of the ways you want to. So we'll give his main articulation a... The arms and chest are pretty good, the head's pretty good. I'll still say 8. It's nothing exceptional, but it's pretty good. Now this body, it's all basically the exact same thing without the encumbrance of the jacket. So it all works pretty much the same way. It works surprisingly well. You can bring the arms out on that butterfly, get them across the chest, the neck moves, the torso moves. It's all basically the same. So it works really well. A little bit better because there's less plastic in the way. So, time for a final verdict for this release. Is it the best figure I've ever seen? No, most things aren't. There's only one of those, but it is a pretty darn good one. The ankles bother me a lot. I think the knees could be a little bit better easily. The toes obviously could be better, but those aren't super important things for a figure like this, and I think I like all the accessories and the details and everything else enough to make up for it. As a reviewer. As a collector, I don't really care about the ankles that much. As long as I get them in basically a gun-holding stance, then I'm fine. But, yeah, as a reviewer, I'm going to give this an overall rating of... I'm going to say 9. If you don't count the error on the one head, I'm going to say 9. Overall, this is a good release. I don't think there's a lot for any normal person who's not a reviewer to complain about at all. As a collector, I'm a little bit irritated by the ankles, but I don't care that much. So... it's a good one. If you're looking for a Keanu Reeves that looks like this, hey, you should get it. I mean, John Wick. Yeah, right. Nobody's buying this just for Keanu, right? All right, okay. I didn't think so. Me neither. Anyway, it's a good figure, and I think you should get it if you're interested. Again, there's a link in the description below if you want one. If not, that's okay. But that's it for me, so thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.